Hi there. It's Tara, she of all things transformational, transformational guidance coaching, transformational bodywork, and for our purposes here today, transformational yoga. So today I'm thinking about what we call in the anatomy world, the anatomy trains, and I'm thinking about the back line, the superficial back line, and I'm referring to the work of Tom Myers. This is the book Anatomy Trains that I'm looking into when I want to learn a little bit more about the myofascial connection between the skeleton, the muscles, and the fascia, postural habits, and things like this. So very interestingly, we have lines of connection through our body that are connected through the fascia and create a connection from points of the body that seem very far from the other point of the body. And what that means is that sometimes a problem with a part of the body, say in our case, we might look at the foot, could affect things in the back or the neck or other parts, along the line. And that line could be affecting other lines. It's very, very interesting. And side note, these lines kind of tend to sort of also mirror the meridians in Chinese medicine. So, kind of like however you want to look at things in the body and the being and in life, there's a lens that applies, but it sort of all comes back to the same crux, which is that we are whole and integrated. So today, for what we're going to do with the superficial back line, we're going to need actually a few props. You're going to need some kind of ball. A tennis ball will do just fine. You're also going to need some kind of strap. So, if you don't have a proper yoga strap, you could use something like a bathrobe belt or a dog leash or something like that. A blanket, if you don't have a proper yoga blanket, then you can get, any kind of firm blanket, just nothing too squishy, please. Beach towels work really well. And a block. And if you don't have a block, maybe you could get a very thick book or two, or maybe a step stool might work, something like that, okay? So first of all, I just want to acknowledge that there are little floaties in the camera today, which is really cool. It's just the sun is shining through the window and there is dust and it's making it look like there's a sparkles effect. I didn't do it, it's just happening. So, whatever. It's kind of fun. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna use this tennis ball. And you're just gonna place the tennis ball on your mat, and hopefully you do have a mat or carpet at least, because if you use it on a hardwood floor, the ball might slide out. So something that's gonna kind of help the ball stay in place, and you can place it, I'm going with my right foot first. And we're just gonna start to work the sole of the foot on the ball. And I would suggest to you that you pause the video, in a moment, and just do this for as long as you want. It could be many minutes. And also, I'm going to suggest to you that you do this as often as you want, because this is powerful medicine for the feet, no matter what your aim or goal is. Massaging the soles of the feet is just excellent, right? We know that reflexology teaches us there's a map of the whole body on the foot. We know so many people get plantar fasciitis, so this is a preventative or even a treatment method for that. And I recommend to a lot of people, keep a tennis ball in different spots. Like if you work at a desk, keep one in, under your desk or in your desk drawer so that you can roll out your feet while you're working. If you, like to watch TV at night, why don't you keep a tennis ball somewhere where your TV is so that you could roll out your feet a little bit while you're watching TV? I have one, in almost every room of my house so that I can roll out my feet, or I can roll out my shoulders, or I could do whatever. I even have one in the car, which I use on my back. I know it's probably distracted driving, but hey, it helps. And when I travel, I always bring tennis balls with me. So what you're doing is you're going front to back along the arch, and then you can work in between all the little metatarsals on, across the ball of the foot. And you can kind of press into the heel a little bit and just, find all the little nooks and crannies. So I'm going to switch to my other foot, but I want you to do this for as long as you want on both feet. So please, just pause that video and keep rolling it out. Don't skimp on this at all. Feels really, really good. Excellent for the feet. Excellent for the entire superficial back line. So I'm going to stop here, and hopefully you've done it as long as you want. And we're going to stand for a moment here in Tadasana. So for Tadasana, I'd like you to please locate the bones that are of your pelvis that are sort of pointed forward. So not the outside edge of your hips, but these are called ASIS. And we're going to just locate them, and then you're going to sort of drop a line down them to the center of your feet. And that's how you're going to determine what hip width apart is henceforth, okay? So hip width apart isn't lining our feet up with the outside of our hips, because this is flesh and tissue and, adipose tissue and all sorts of, right? So that's actually kind of a false suggestion. This is what we'll call hip width, because as we drop down from here, this is where the hip socket is, where the femur bone comes into the pelvis. So that's your true hip, okay? So that's what you're gonna line your feet up with. And we're gonna pause into Tadasana, so you can open up your palms to face forward, lift the toes, find your vertical axis by lifting the toes. You can nod the head yes a couple times, coming into neutral with the chin about parallel to the floor. And pause there with a breath, feeling yourself on the vertical axis. If you let the toes down and rock forward, then that's okay. Just reset by lifting the toes again, no problem. Okay, so just feel into the feet after that exercise of rolling the balls, and feel the way your feet are connecting to the floor. And actually how gravity is what is indeed connecting you to earth. And I'd like you to identify the spot that is just in front of your heel on the bottom of your foot. And you're going to take your imagination all the way up that spot, from that spot up the back of your calves, up the back of your thighs, over your glutes, up the either side of your spine, up the back of your neck, wrap around the skull, and land here in the front of your face, the inside edge of your eye sockets. That is the superficial back line. So it's very long, and when there's dysfunction somewhere along that line, it can cause problems somewhere else. So it's really worth our time and effort to work the feet. So we're going to take the next step here with a blanket, and I have my blanket folded in a kind of thick fold like this. You can make this thicker if your calves are more open, or thinner if your calves need less lift, okay? And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna step onto the blanket with the edge of the blanket going across the balls of the feet. And you're gonna really point the heels down. Imagine that you kind of have arrows that you're sort of trying to drop down into the floor. And I'm contracting my quadriceps in the front of the thighs. And then from here, I'm going to just open up the back of the hands, the back of the arms and the triceps into extension and lift the sternum. So it's really easy to want to pitch forward. If you pitch forward, you're going to miss the stretch here. So if you feel steady enough, you can really use a lot of tone on the front of the thighs and the back of the arms here. If you need to hold something like a chair beside you a little or something like that, you can certainly do it. And we're just going to take a breath or two here, opening up that line, focusing a lot here in the calves. The calves are made up primarily of two muscles. The one that we see on the outside is called the gastrocnemius, has two bellies. You can see it really well on cyclists or rock climbers. And then there's one that is underneath the gastrocnemius called the soleus, and it's kind of fish-shaped. And they share a common tendon, the Achilles heel. So you've breathed here for a couple breaths, and you're just gonna come off, and we're gonna recheck in Tadasana. I love to come back to Tadasana between poses because it sort of lets me know what I did, yeah? So take a moment, back to the Tadasana, and just feel with your breath the effects of what just happened. Good. Okay, so you can push that blanket aside, and now we're going to take the block, and we're just going to take, actually this is really nice to do against a wall, but if you have a block and a yoga mat, you should be fine. Again, if your balance is a little tricky, just have a chair or something beside you that you could touch, or be next to a wall or something like that. We're going to take the right foot, and you're going to put the corner of the block against the ball, or the ball of your foot against the corner of the block. And then we're going to have the left foot just far enough back that you can kind of use the left foot to push off of, so that you can come into that vertical axis standing. Again, opening up the palms. So just a little core is happening here. I'm using the muscles in the front of my ankle and in the quadricep on the front of my thighs, and a little bit in my little tone in the abdomen here, just to stay vertical. And we're just stretching that. So if you lean a little bit forward, you'll get into that a little bit more. And then release and switch feet. And again, you can do this, do these as long as feels good to you. You can repeat this, pause the video, repeat it if you like. So again, now you have the corner of the block against the ball of the left foot, and you're sort of pushing off with the right foot. And we're getting excellent lengthening into the soleus. You can lift the toes of your left foot a little bit if you have that ability. And when you feel like it's even on both sides, come back, push the block away for a second, come to Tadasana, and just see how you feel for a moment. Good. Okay. So then, pushing both of those away, and we're not going to use the strap quite yet. You're going to come into a lunge, and I'll go with my left knee forward and my right knee back. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have enough space between my feet that my left heel, my right foot's back, my right heel is going to be lifted, and then I'm going to press the heel back like an arrow and start to drop the knee towards the floor. And this is just getting a little bit of a stretch into that calf and the soleus here. And then you can exhale and push the heel back. You might not come to the floor, but just pushing it back, toning the quadricep so that you get some length through that calf. You might feel a little bonus stretch in the front of the thigh and hip. And then come up, and we'll flatten the calf. And when you flatten the, oh, did I say calf? I meant foot. When you flatten the foot, see how I have slightly unbent the front knee? You're gonna have both knees just a little bent, okay? And you're gonna just press back through the heel as you slightly bend the knees. So you'll feel the Achilles and receive that lengthening. And release. And then you can switch, bringing your right foot forward and your left foot back, or pivot like I did. So a little bit more space for the first exercise. Right knee over the right ankle. And you're gonna press back through that left heel, straightening the left knee, and really, getting that lengthening through the calf. And if you get a little extra bonus stretch in the front of the hip, that's great. Couple breaths there. And then bring the foot in just a little bit so the back left foot can be flat on the floor, and both knees are going to have a slight bend. And we're just going to get into that calf in a different way. So really this is kind of more so getting into the Achilles, but that's on that chain, from the foot all the way up. So we need to keep a little pliability in the Achilles. It's not excellent to stretch tendons and ligaments, but the Achilles can get very shortened, and the glide between the membrane that surrounds that tendon can kind of become adhered to the tendon. So it's nice to bring just a little bit of movement into that massive tendon there. And then come out and pause in your Tadasana for a moment. Evaluate. Good. And then we're going to come down to the floor. And you're going to need that blanket for your head, perhaps. I'm going to use it for my head. And we're going to need that strap. So most people will benefit from using a strap for the poses, Supta Pada Gustasana, that I'm going to show here. Some people who are very flexible don't need a strap, but I'm going to show these with the strap so that you can kind of, modify as needed, because most people are pretty tight in their hamstring, at least in Western culture. Okay, so down to our backs we'll go. And if you're supporting the head, just make sure the head is comfortable, not lifted too much. And we're going to bring the strap to the left foot first. And what you're going to do, and so I just have either end of the strap wrapped around my wrists, and I'm going to have enough strap that I can extend my opposite leg, the right leg out, reaching through the heel with the toes pointed up, and then I can extend fully the right leg, oh my goodness gracious, please forgive me, my left leg, the one that's lifted, and press out through the ball of the foot while accessing a mild stretch behind the thigh. And in the meantime, I want to make sure that my low back, the lumbar spine, is not flattened to the floor. So this pose is to target the hamstring, which is, again, on that chain. You should not feel the stretch behind the knee here. If you feel the stretch behind the knee, please press the ball of the left foot away a little bit more, so you'll kind of effectively lengthen the front of the ankle. Now, if you're tighter, your leg might be, at a much, greater angle than mine. That's fine. Your leg can be at whatever angle it needs to be for the knee to be extended and for you to feel a mild and sustainable stretch in the hamstring. And actually, people who are flexible can take the toe. So this pose has, many variations and modifications. So after several breaths here, you're going to shimmy the strap up to the ball of the foot. You're going to point the heel up and you're going to draw the toes down. And now we're getting into the calf. So take a couple of deep breaths. Let the shoulders relax. Get into that calf. just take a second, feel the difference between the two legs. Probably going to feel some tingling on the left leg, a little warmth, and the right leg is going to be a little jealous, so let's catch it right up. Okay, so right leg up, have the angle of the leg, whatever you need it to be so that you can engage through the through extension through the quadricep, and the left leg is extended out through the heel, toes pointed to the ceiling. And I can see that I'm a little off camera, so let me just get a little bit more here. Okay, that's good. Okay, so you have this angle availing you a sustainable stretch in the back of the right leg, and we're just going to breathe here for a couple breaths with the ball of the right foot pointing away so that you're lengthening the front of the right ankle. And remember, flexible people certainly can grab your toe as long as you can maintain, you know, a little bit of that space underneath your low back and lengthening the front of the ankle, and also keeping the right shoulder closer to the floor rather than having it hike up. You can shimmy the strap to the ball of the foot, point the heel up, and actively draw the toes down towards the hips, or, you know, wherever down is for your foot. And then release and come down, rest for a moment, take a breath or two, evaluate. And then we're going to give a little bit of self-massage, and I absolutely love doing this. So what you're going to do is bend both knees, and then you're going to drop the left leg out to the side. And if your left leg doesn't drop all the way to the side, then shove a little something under the leg, and that's kind of nice for anybody anyway. So, you know, you could use the blanket that was under your head, or an additional little blanket or pillow or something like that. My leg does pretty well, so I'm going to let it just be on the floor here. And then you're going to take that, and look, did you see what I just did? I scooted my hips a little over to the right, so I landed a little bit more on the outer left hip. So, you know, find your skeleton comfortable on the floor. Then you're going to take the right foot and put it right on top of the inner edge of the left foot. And you're just going to rock the pelvis a little bit into flexion and extension a couple times. And then slide your heel of your right foot into the divot underneath your inner ankle bone. That's called the medial malleolus. Now look at my right foot. I'm keeping those toes active and lifted, because as I activate the top of the right foot, I can bear down through that heel and put some pressure into that inside line of my left leg. And so as I do this, I'm going to scoot up another inch. And when I scoot up, I'm going to kind of like bear down through the right heel and give a little lift and twist of the toes. And so that's going to create a little compressive massage into the tissue. And I'm just going to take this up the line and bear down and give a little external rotation of the right foot so that the right heel roots down into that inner calf line. If your calves are very tight, if you're a runner or something like that, this could be intense. So, you know, maybe you don't make it all the way up that inside line. Maybe you actually don't want to bear down so strongly through the heel. You're going to find what works for you. But if you can bear it and breathe with it, it gets real nice when you get up towards the upper calf, because that space between the gastrocnemius and the soleus often doesn't really get a lot of differentiation. And so giving this little massage to that area can be very, very, you know, powerful for releasing the fascia in there and keeping the glide between the gastrocnemius and the soleus. And then you can work your way back down. And then we'll bring bring that knee up, and you're gonna open up the right knee, scoot the hips a little bit over to the left, and place the left foot on top of the inside edge of the right foot. I'm gonna go a little faster here. You should pause the video and take as much time as you want. So I'm just moving my heel up that line, keeping my left toes nice and flexed. We're gonna breathe, yeah. And we're gonna give that little massage. And you're gonna take as much time in this exercise as you want, not rushing. You're gonna pause the video if you want more time to just kind of allow the exploration here. And then when you come back, come out, you can pause with your feet on the floor, take a breath. And then we'll roll off to one side and come back to standing into Tadasana. Good. And so from here, standing into Tadasana, we're going to come into forward fold, Uttanasana. And so if you haven't heard me talk about this yet, when I come into forward fold and when I teach it, what I want us to do is I want us to rotate the pelvis over the femur bones. So that means from the top of our heads to our tailbones, we're moving in one piece. You can imagine, you know, the way a Lego figurine or any other kind of, you know, action figure doll moves. Guess what? A lot of people are going to be inhibited from doing this by tension in their hamstring, which is also, you know, that back line. So what you're going to do as you take this fold to keep that line intact is you're going to bend your knees, and then you're going to allow the spine to round. When we bend the knees, what we actually do is we interrupt that back line. And by bending the knees, we cause a slight derailment, as Thomas Meyer puts it, of the back line. And so it reduces the tension on the sacroiliac joint and the lumbar discs. So it's a safer way for you to stretch the hamstrings and to open up the back line of the back, your actual back, the back of the neck and head. Please let your head hang, let the head dangle, do not hold it up. And imagine that you've got some kind of animal tail here. And your animal tail is lifting up and back towards the corner of the wall and ceiling behind you. I imagine a little duck tail because I like to watch the birds and the ducks. I see a duck dipping its head underwater, its tail feathers go up. That's what I imagine. And then from here, you're going to walk your hands forward towards the front of your mat and your feet back. Come into a plank pose, aligning the shoulders over the wrists. And this is going to let you know that you have a good amount of distance between your hands and your feet for Adho Mukha Svanasana, down dog. Bend the knees, lift the heels, scoop the hips up and back. If you find yourself sliding in your hands, you're going to grip the sides of the mat, which is great anyway because it widens the hands and turns the arms slightly out, which is an excellent hand position. Now today, of course, we're focusing a little bit on the bottom of the feet and this back line. So we're going to really lift the heels, bend the knees, and scoop the hips up and back. So we're stretching the bottom of the feet as we do this. Taking a few deep breaths. And then you can lower the heels down, and your heels may not get to the floor. They probably won't for most people. That's fine. Don't worry about it. Let that image of down dog go. Don't worry about the heels down yet. And we're going to pedal the knees, bending one knee and pressing the other heel down. You might find a little more, attraction between the heel and the floor when you bend the opposite knee. And then we're going to walk the feet and hands together and return to that forward fold, Uttanasana. Let the head go. Imagine your animal tail reaching up and back. You're going to inhale, lift the elbows towards your waistline, draw the shoulder blades together, lift the chest up, raise the arms up. You can reach back a little bit, so now you're bringing some tone to that back line. And then let's bring the arms into Tadasana and evaluate how we feel one last time. So take a couple breaths. Feel that entirety of the back line as I mapped it out for you. And we're going to end there. So thank you so much for watching. I wish you a wonderful day. Please do all the things that we do when we like a video. Give it a like. That is the minimal generosity you can show me after watching. Watching is the first generosity. Give it a like, give it a comment, share it. And you know what? You could subscribe to the channel. I put up videos every week, midweek, kind of workshopping poses or workshopping solutions to things in our bodies through yoga. And I put up all sorts of cool videos about philosophy and different observations about the laws of energy and attraction and things like this, and human emotions, and how we are attracting and creating our life. So, there's some pretty cool stuff to check out. Thank you so much. Namaste.